Lost, wandering without a home and confused. That was 43-year-old Amol Suresh Mirjankar 2 years before he was brought into the Shraddha Foundation in Karjat, 100 kilometers away from Mumbai. Amol was diagnosed with schizophrenia and treated by the NGO that takes care of mentally unstable patients. Now cured, Amol, having no kin to go back home to, has stayed on. But Amol isn't the only story with a happy ending. Psychiatrist Dr. Bharat and his wife Smita Vatwani started the Shraddha Foundation in the year 2006. Initially, the purpose was to provide a home and medical care to these wandering mentally ill patients, but the Vatwanis didn't stop at merely that. Going beyond the call of duty, they have attempted to track down and reunite these wanderers with their families. Today, at least 7,000 mentally ill patients recount happy stories of reunion.
We were sitting in a restaurant and having our cup of tea, whatever. When we saw across the road, there was a guy who looked to us like a schizophrenic. Being psychiatrists, we could identify him. Now, spontaneously, what happened was that he took an empty coconut shell, put it into the gutter water behind, and lifted it up and drank the whole thing at a single shot.
Okay.
So we were very moved, and without even realizing what we were doing, we left everything, paid the bill, and just walked across to the road and asked him that, do you wish to come with us? And he agreed.
80% of the patients brought to the foundation have schizophrenia. The 30-member staff at the center work round the clock to nurse them back to health.
मारने को आता है पेशेंट एकदम ऐसा, हाँ वैसे हुआ है एक पेशेंट, एक दो पेशेंट हुआ है ऐसा। क्या हुआ? कोई हाँ मतलब ऐसा एकदम पकड़ा था, उसने गला पकड़ा था डायरेक्ट आपका। हाँ डॉक्टर के रूम में ढकल दिया था। हाँ उसको इंजेक्शन दिया ना इसलिए।
But healing isn't the only part of the job. When patients are ready to be discharged, then comes the challenge of tracking down their family. Often, the staff has to do that with limited information, as patients hardly recall. This could take months. For every 10 success stories, there are at least 2 that fail. In fact, many patients who don't find their families continue to stay on at the center. But that does not deter the doctors who have been on the job for 20 years or more.
But for the people working at Shraddha Foundation, including Dr. Vatwani, the Raymond Magsaysay Award is just a fillip to the real cause. The real drive comes from job satisfaction. With video journalist Shashank Sonavane, this is Amita Balachandra for Mirror Now.
Welcome to this very special episode of Verified. Like I told you a couple of weeks ago, the attempt now is to bring you people, stories and heroes who you must meet. We make too much of a fuss in our country about celebrities. We don't make enough of a fuss about the real heroes. Like my team says, at the top of the screen, there is an angel among us. And that angel is Dr. Bharat Vatwani, who joins us right now in the studio. Now, Dr. Vatwani and his wife run a home and a nursing home for destitute people on the street who suffer from mental illnesses. They treat them and then reunite them with their families. And Dr. Vatwani has been honored with the Magsaysay Award. He's one among 2 Indians to have received this award in this very special edition of Verified. It is my pleasure, India, to introduce you to Dr. Vatwani. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Congratulations on the award. But I'm so interested in what made you start Shraddha, which is the nursing home that you run.
I think instead of that, I'll just take it to a point which you said.
Yes.
Something about a hero. There's a classmate of mine, Fatima Poonawala. She's in Bangalore. She's regular helping. She sent a SMS to me, which says that, Bharat, we are so happy. Your recognition has restored our faith in the goodness and humanity in general. It will inspire many. For every sung hero, I am sure that there must be many unsung. Good, you have been elevated from unsung to sung. God bless. I just felt after reading this SMS that genuinely there's no such thing like a sung hero or an unsung hero.
Yes.
At the end of the day, there is commitment. there is commitment to a cause, and the people who have actually done something have continued because of their commitment. If you look at, let's say, a freedom struggle, I mean, the freedom struggle is not just the net result of Gandhi or Nehru and Sardar Patel or whatever. There are hundreds, thousands, lakhs of people who are fighting for the cause, who are unsung. And you ask them again in their lives that would they want to be unsung? They would want to be unsung. They would want to replicate that thing. That is commitment. That is purpose.
I want to ask you about specific cases that touched your heart. That while you've been working since the 80s at Shraddha Foundation, are there certain cases that you never forget because they were so special?
Yeah. I've got a few photos of some of them. I mean, they are just. This gentleman is an Indian cost and works accountant.
Okay.
Now his family actually was staying in Dadar. Okay. His family actually left the house without giving a forwarding address, just so that this patient could not be brought back to them. And he continued to stay in Shraddha. He was known as Gokhale uncle in this. Finally, he had cancer and he died in our setup. And he was always hoisting the flag on every Independence Day because he was the senior most person in the.
And where did you find him?
Oh, that's another story. There was a schizophrenic patient of mine who knew that we were doing this work. One day he came across this gentleman in somewhere near Dadar. He actually brought him by bus all the way from Dadar to our nursing home.
And you're in Karjat?
No, this is in Borivali.
This is in Borivali.
Yeah, at that time the Karjat project had not yet started. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is in the good old days. Yeah.
And why do you think families abandon their loved ones in this manner?
Families don't abandon their loved ones. I mean, this is a one-off story. I recently remember I had gone to Kerala with my social workers. They were all Malayalis at that time. So when I had gone there, one of the social workers took me to a temple.
Yes.
And in that temple, he said this temple is famous for treating mental illness. And I waited there for half an hour. And within half an hour, there are 27 destitutes or there are 27 mentally ill people who were brought there in the hope that the boy will improve. So it's not that there is no concern. It's that concern is wrongly directed. There is no approach of scientific knowledge. You have lakhs of people who must have seen Beautiful Mind with mathematician John Nash as a schizophrenic. Despite that, they come and ask you the same question that, Doc, how does this happen? Tell me, how does this happen? I believe that it is a collective unconscious of the entire Indian psyche which is responsible for not allowing this to progress from the point of myth to the reality of science.
Because even today, people will say things like "bhoot chad gaya."
Yes.
And that we should exorcise this bhoot from this person and remove the spirit, and then the person will be okay. And that actually does more damage than good, doesn't it?
Yeah, but by the grace of God, nowadays there are many Babas who have realized that Shraddha treats them. Finally, after all their rigmarole, they say, "Ek kaam karo, abhi aap Shraddha mein jao." So there are Babas like that also.
Are there stories you want to share with us?
Yeah, this boy is the son of an army major in Nagaland.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the father was an army major. He was told by a Baba that your son is within a 10-kilometer radius. He deployed his entire army, to hunt for the son. The son was in Mumbai, found by us. When I told the father, he came rushing down in flight and this thing took him back. Now I feel that if at the level of an army major, you have ignorance in India, you can well imagine what is the state in remote villages, etc., etc. I mean, so what I'm trying to say is not just the remote people, it's not just the tribal people, it's not just the people in the villages. It is the collective Indian unconsciousness. It is in the psyche of these people, which is going on since generations, so a little difficult to remove.
So I want to ask you, when we were listening to that brief about your team, someone on your team said sometimes it gets dangerous. Yeah. Sometimes patients get violent.
Yeah.
How do you manage? How do you motivate your team? I mean, because you have the commitment, but it's also important then to pass it on to the rest of the team as well.
No, I'll tell you one thing. The team has got the commitment.
Okay.
Believe me, my team is extraordinary. I mean, I feel the USP of this entire NGO is the fact that the team is terrific. And the reason why the team is terrific is not because I'm motivating them. It is because the job satisfaction is motivating them. That's a very important point. They are the people who are reuniting. I mean, just yesterday, I didn't get it on my WhatsApp. Just yesterday, there was a shot of one male guy being reunited, a huge village, entire village had surrounded that guy. So, that one incident like that keeps the entire team moving. And now,
even after
in the era of WhatsApp, so there's a lot of sharing, so they realize, yeah.
And even after you reunite someone with their families,
Yeah.
obviously there is a continued treatment.
Yeah.
So, do you find families willing to, invest time, energy into that treatment?
Yes. I was just telling your reporter the other day that around 15 days back, there was somebody who came from UP who was treated by us in 2015. And they brought the guy back because he was again showing signs and symptoms of mental illness.
Yes.
So before it could escalate to the point that he would disappear again from the house, they did bring him back.
And this is important. When people have schizophrenia, they sometimes lose track of who they are and where they are.
Yes.
And they wander away.
Yeah.
And that's how they wind up on the street.
Yes, because there is no adequate treatment right at the beginning. So when there is no adequate treatment right at the beginning because of lack of awareness, finally the person wanders out.
So actually, we could use this opportunity if there's someone watching at home who's wondering, what are the initial symptoms? How do I know if a loved one or a friend or someone around me is suffering?
I feel if there is sudden gross change in behavior,
Yes.
I'm just giving a broad gestalt. If there is a sudden broad change in behavior, which is very unusual, the person is having a psychiatric illness. Vice versa, he may be laughing to self, he may suddenly become silent, he may be talking to self, he may be making gestures in the hair, he stops taking a bath, things of those kind. But there is a definite massive change in behavior. That's a standard sign.
And when you notice a change in behavior,
Yeah.
the first thing you should do is get help.
Yes.
There's no point in, talking about it, attempting to solve the problem yourself.
If that is addressed, believe me, the number of wandering mentally ill destitutes on the roads of India will decrease exponentially.
Do you find yourself at a loss because you only have so many beds and so many people you can accommodate?
Yeah.
But I'm sure every time you go out into the street and you probably have a clearer eye than anybody else to know that this person needs my help. What do you do when you run out of space?
Oh, I've been through various stages of depression on this count because I always feel whatever I did was inadequate or whatever our
Just
whole
not
team
enough.
did was inadequate. Now you look at the Raymond Magsaysay Award. They have given the award on the basis of 7,000 lives which they believe I or our team has saved. Now you look at, there is an article in 2016 which states that the number of wandering mentally ill destitutes on the streets are 4 lakhs. Now I was just thinking that what did I do or what did our team do or what did my wife do? What did we do actually? Believe me, supposing India is batting and the target is 400 and Sunil Gavaskar makes 7, would he be given an award? I don't think so. But somehow I was. I'm still thinking, despite all the publicity and despite all this, I'm just thinking, what about the 3,93,000 out there on the roads? Who's going to do anything for them?
Obviously, with this award comes a certain amount of recognition. There's some media glare on you right now. What are you hoping this will, sort of instigate?
I'm hoping for 2 things. One is that the entire citizens of India realize that finally psychiatric illness is treatable. Today there are so many new drugs coming out, new molecules coming out. So like I said, A, if you pick up the illness at a very early stage, go to a psychiatrist, that makes a world of a difference to the number of destitutes on the road. And B, I would expect that more number of NGOs come forward and do this kind of work, whether psychiatrists, social workers, students. I received a mail from somebody in Latur. He said, I've already helped out 32 people. So I'm hoping to meet up with that guy and make that 32 into 3,200.
3,000. In fact, the visual that was on the screen just now, and we'll play that again, is of your first patient, Amol Suresh.
Yeah. I have his, by just fluke, I happened to come across his photo.
And he's now working with you.
Yeah, he's working with me. Amol is working. He's not my first patient, but he's working with me. Yes, yes.
Tell us Amol's story.
Amol was actually on the...
You can show us the photo.
I don't have his photo.
Okay. It's on the screen.
Amol was actually on the road. Half naked, emaciated. The horror of this whole thing is that the man is getting emaciated, losing weight, and there's nobody who turns a second eye to him. I don't know whether you have read that book of William Golding, Lord of the Flies, He won the Nobel Prize, which says, kill the pig, cut his throat, bash him and spill his blood. In this case, it's the opposite. You just neglect him. You believe that he doesn't exist, and he was existing on the road in an emaciated position. And that guy finally, when he was saved, I remember my RMO made him utter a poem of Ganpati, I mean that Aarti of Ganpati, and he did it so well, and he's still good at it.
And the visual now that's on the screen, you can see it there, is of Amol today.
Yeah. Yes,
and
it
he's
is
working with you.
Yes,
in what capacity is he working with you?
Oh, he has gone to escort patients to Uttar Pradesh. He has gone to Bihar. He has toured the whole of Maharashtra. He's done everything. I mean, he's too good. He's too good. That's the difference which genuine treatment, love, affection, care, respect can create.
Is that, I mean, so there are two parts to that, right? Genuine treatment, shelter, food, proper care, love and respect.
Yeah.
Is there a dearth of love and respect for mentally ill patients in our country? Do we find that a lot of people are just have trouble understanding, treating them with care?
I don't think so because I feel that, look, if there was a trouble in love and respect, then out of 10 reunions, if only one was to succeed, then my staff also would give up and perhaps I would continue, but my staff would give up.
Yes.
But the very fact that they are continuing is that 7 or 8 out of those 10 reunions are good. So it's not a question of absence of love, it's an absence of awareness, absence of understanding what is going on, what is the psyche of...
So, Doctor, we are currently live on Facebook as well, and there are a lot of people who are writing in and reacting to the stories that you're telling us, and the most common question that people are asking, and I'll read out some of the messages, they're quite beautiful. They're saying, good afternoon to you, keep up the work. People are saying that you are an angel, please keep your spirit high, we're with you. They've said, what can they do to help? Is there anything, so for example, someone watching at home right now, what can they do to help you with your cause?
I don't want to come up with a standard answer that if you find a mentally ill person in your vicinity, because already we have got so many calls, I'm wondering whether the whole Karjat center will collapse. But yes, at some point of time, like-minded people can create a shelter and house 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, start giving them food, and as and when the general condition improves, maybe I can do knowledge sharing with them, maybe I can send a social worker over to them and kind of trace out the addresses and do a collaboration kind of thing.
Is it possible to donate financially?
Yes, it is possible.
Shraddha
Yes,
Foundation?
yes.
How can someone do that?
I mean, somebody can send a mail and I'll give the bank details and they can either send a check or do an online transfer or whatever.
All right. And would you be able to give out an email ID where they can get in touch with you?
Yeah. Shraddha.karjat@gmail.com.
All right. Shraddha.karjat@gmail.com. If you want to get in touch with Dr. Vatwani and help out financially, that's the way to do it. Let me ask you more of the questions. Same thing. How can we support financially? How can we support? Jose Abraham says, be blessed. You're an angel, doctor. You've been appointed by the Creator. What is the imbalance? You said if there is an imbalance, what is that imbalance? How is it created? Asks one viewer.
The tragedy of schizophrenia is that it can occur to anybody. It can occur to me, it can occur to you, it can occur to anybody, anywhere, at any point in time. Now, just as you have blood pressure, just as you have diabetes, you have chemicals which are regulating the emotions and thought processes in the brain. When the chemicals get disturbed, you have depression, you have schizophrenia. When you have schizophrenia and you don't treat it, gradually the intensity of the illness increases. And at some point of time, the guy may start wandering out. The moment he wanders out, 2 days, 3 days down the line, people are scared as it is of a psychiatric illness. Of a psychiatric person, he wanders into a train, nobody asks him for a ticket. He gets on at Mumbai, the train is offloaded and they are there on the streets of Mumbai. They are there on the streets of every major metro where trains are offloaded.
That's the other thing I meant to ask you about. The data shows us that the number of psychiatrists, qualified psychiatrists, the number of beds that we have in psychiatric wards are woefully inadequate. It's abysmal in India. I mean, the doctor-to-patient ratio is anyway bad in India to begin with, but we're looking at a ratio of 3 to 1 million when it comes to psychiatrists. Is there a desperate need to
There is a desperate need for psychiatrists. I mean, that's an understatement. But I don't know. I mean, I feel maybe the government has got more pressing problems. I mean, see, there's illiteracy, there's unemployment. I mean, there's so many other factors which come into play. So the mental illness tends to take a bottom.
But 167 million Indians suffer from mental illnesses according to NIMHANS.
Yes.
So that's a large number to leave at the bottom of your priority list, I suppose.
I hope somebody is listening to you in the top echelons of the government.
Is it also, and this is important, is it also because when we talk about health in India, we're talking about saving babies from problems that could easily be eradicated?
Yes.
So mental health then doesn't even figure in that list when it should?
It should. Yes, it should. Yes.
So is there an outreach that can be done with government to raise
I guess
awareness?
it can be done. I mean, if there were plans to kind of introduce knowledge sharing at the district level, at the Gram Panchayat level, at the school level, at different levels. To be honest, I have never thought along those lines or kind of incorporating our energies, because somehow the whole energy of our entire team is focused on the wandering mentally ill. There's a reason for that, because somehow there's something known as the last man standing. And I believe that last man standing is the wandering mentally ill. You can't get somebody worse than that. You have a guy who's lying, who's normal and who's living on the payments. If he gets chest pain, he can still rush to a government hospital. But a guy who's mentally ill cannot. You have somebody who has 10,000 rupees in his pocket. He doesn't know how to use the 10,000 rupees. He stays in Nasik. It takes 500 rupees to reach there, but he doesn't have. So when there is absolute loss of mental faculties, I believe that man, that woman is the last man on the road. And that whole concept of me, my wife, and the entire team is that let's focus on that last human being. Yeah.
Well, we have some more messages for you. Shali says, thank you for showing us that we still have good, selfless people in India, and God bless this doctor.
Thank you.
India needs more people like you, he says. I want to ask you about your wife, who has been your support system through this, from even before you became a psychiatrist, from what I understand. Where did you meet her?
She was my lecturer, and I was the houseman. So, after finishing my MBBS, I spent a couple of years trying to do general practice, which flopped. After that, I did a non-medical job. Then one of my another colleagues said, why don't you join psychiatry? So I said, let's see what psychiatry is all about. Then I entered the psychiatry, what I liked it. And that's how the process began. Then I entered Cooper, and my wife was the lecturer. She was a gold medalist.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought, why spend so much energy on studies? I'm already carrying.
Just marry the gold medalist.
Yeah, I've got a walking encyclopedia with me. So why go into and I failed the first time.
Okay.
I just barely managed to pass the second time.
She married you anyway.
Yeah, that too, because I thought she would leave me. She'll ditch me if I don't
fail
pass.
again.
Yeah.
And you started Shraddha Foundation together.
Yeah. Yes.
What was that conversation like when you went up to her and you said, this is what I want to do?
No, there's no me in it.
Okay.
I mean, believe me, I'm blessed. Both of us share the same wavelength. Both of us believe, have the same this thing. I mean, neither she nor I have ever thought twice about the spending of the money, about the efforts involved. Somehow we have clicked on that issue. We may have differences otherwise, but we have clicked on that issue. That whatever we are doing for the good of a schizophrenic patient has to be done.
Has to be done.
Yeah. I mean, she has gone somewhere while shopping or something, come across somebody, and she just rings up the staff, and the staff goes and takes. At that time, neither I think nor she thinks as to how many number of inmates are there. We just do it.
So actually, I wanted to ask you this. Now, what is outside of Shraddha Foundation and people that you and your wife or your staff might come across, what normally happens to mentally ill people who are destitute on the street? Are the police supposed to pick them up, take them somewhere?
Yes.
How are they? What is the procedure?
Technically, the police is supposed to pick them up and take them to the nearest government hospital. Now, what happens is, unfortunately, the nearest government hospital is overflowing. Genuinely, I mean, there's no.
All wards, including the psychiatric
all wards. They are overflowing. So it becomes difficult. Now, where do you absorb them? So you're stuck.
And unlike, like you said, unlike regular patients.
Yeah.
Mentally ill patients need help looking after themselves, feeding themselves,
Yes.
they need to be bathed.
Yes.
These are basic human things that they are unable to do. So
Yes.
the level of care that's required is far greater.
Very well put, yes.
And how are you currently funding your needs at the Shraddha Rehabilitation Foundation?
Well, by the grace of God, because we have stuck on to the same work for a long period of time, people are coming forward. I and my wife have our own private practice also. We are contributing our private funds also. Another trustee of mine is a builder, he is also contributing. And there are, Rotary Club of Queen's Necklace last couple of years has donated. So things are moving gradually.
And hopefully the viewers who watched, whatever little they want to help, will also help save lives.
I don't know, the whole purpose of whatever I'm talking now is not on whether we get funds. The point is not whether Shraddha expands. The point is not whether the amount of work being done by Dr. Bharat Vatwani increases double. Let's assume we are reuniting 1,000 destitutes in this year. Last year we reunited 920 destitutes. Even if I and my wife continue for another 5 years, we are reuniting 5,000. Now what happens to the remaining 3,92,000? That is the focus of the entire. I'm thinking myself loud. I'm thinking aloud.
Yes.
What happens to those people?
What happens to those people? So you just say that it's just never going to be enough.
There is no. It's as far as Shraddha is concerned, it is never going to be enough. As far as I am concerned, at a personal level, it's never going to be enough, because I genuinely feel. The bottom line is, when I first somebody rang me up and said, "You have got this award," I was wondering, have they lost their mind? What have we done? We have done nothing. People are there on the roads. People are dying on the roads. People are having mental illness, and still, this is it. So I'm hoping that this entire award and the attention and everything that is happening changes society.
We've got a very quick question.
Yeah.
Even though we're running out of time, I'm still going to ask it, where someone says, if there is a schizophrenic person in the family and the family is not able to care for that person, what should they do?
Well, they have to take the patient, assuming that's an economically backward class, they have to take the patient to a government hospital with psychiatric facilities.
Okay.
Yeah, there are innumerable. Like in Mumbai, you have JJ Hospital, you have KEM Hospital, you have Sion, you have, Nair. They have regular psychiatry departments where medicines are also available. Maybe you have to wait in the line for a long period of time, but yes, you get good treatment. It's not that you don't get good treatment.
We've nearly run out of time, but you also write poetry.
Yeah.
In some of your more difficult moments. You have something to read out for us, and I'm going to wrap up the show here, but I'll leave you with final words from Dr. Vatwani himself.
Well, during this whole process, I've gone through innumerable stages of depression, and I've written a lot of poems which are majorly depressive. So wishing that the arrow had a mark, the pigeon its own space in the sky, the swimmer his own waves in the sea, the devotee his own idol to worship. Wishing that the pain would ease, the throbbing die out, the body finding its own earth, mortality touching immortality. But it was not to be. The tears left to tell their own story, the sobs unrelenting, the screams rising higher and higher, the flames enveloping, wishes burning to a cinder, even the ashes scattering, leaving no trace, never to be.
Thank you.